So, what I wanted to talk about tonight is foundational habits. So, we know we're doing this 21-day challenge, but really, what are the things that are going to keep us on track forever and ever so that we don't have to worry about the on again, off again, weight loss, weight gain? It's like this vicious cycle, right? So, if we can learn the foundational habits that are going to keep us healthy and lean through our later years, it's just going to be an easier process altogether. And you're not going to feel that sense of frustration because, unfortunately, as we are aging, our metabolism is slowing down, our body is changing for a multitude of reasons. And how do we combat our the fact that we tend to put on weight as we're getting older? And how do we, what are just some of the things that we can instill? And maybe it's a gradual process, but what are the things that we can count on to keep us in a healthy mode and fit and at our leanest possible point at this stage in the game? But before we get into that, drum roll. Winner, winner, chicken dinner for this week's mini challenge is Sharon Miller. So I am going to, if that's okay with you, ship you off a $25 gift card to Amazon, unless you would prefer Starbucks or Target. You just have to let me know, Sharon. So you can text me, or you can type it in the chat. I know you're out there walking, but you can text me later. So will be another mini challenge winner for next week. So excellent job. You guys are really doing well with participation. Later, probably tomorrow or Wednesday, I'm going to put out a leaderboard for participation. Hopefully, everybody got their beginning weight because that's really important that you had that data point. And hopefully, everybody got me their before pictures. So we will just, at the end of the challenge, you'll send me your after pictures and also your weight difference. And that will be part of what goes into the winner of the 21-day challenge. All right. So tonight, what are we going to cover? First, I wanted to talk about some of the peaks and pitfalls of the week so we can all kind of share some of the things that we went through. Then we'll get into the building of the foundational habits, and we'll talk about the goals for this week. So last week, if you were on the call, and hopefully you got a chance to watch the replay, but I talked about how sometimes we just wait for the stars to align before we will take any kind of action. And the reality of that is it's not reality because life is not linear. There's always going to be something that pops up that causes us stress, or a weekend celebration, or a vacation, or work travel. Something's going to pop up, which is going to pull us out of our structured environment, and we're going to face challenges. So if you have that all or nothing mindset, it's just not going to work. You're going to set yourself up for failure. So, does anybody want to share what may have happened like for this week? What were some of your wins? What were some of your roadblocks that you had going through committing to your habits or getting your workouts in, whatever it was? What were some of your roadblocks? We'll start with that. Just take yourself off mute and start talking.
Well, for me, it was the apple cider donut. I have a lot of field trips in the fall, and like I have a sweet tooth, but I kept it at one. And when the weekend came, I was back on track, and I still managed to lose weight. And I didn't eat more than one. I would have loved to, but I and usually I just like after I do that, I fall apart and I just give up. And then it's like, I'm done with this challenge. It's just not going to work.
Hmm. So that's
But
good. What do you think the difference was this time?
I believe it's my mindset. It's definitely mindset because it's like, as I get older, like I just see like more and more like inflammation creeping in and more things starting to hurt. And I got to be more focused and intentional about my diet, period.
Love that. So did you, and I want to share this as well, but when you were thinking about your goal for the challenge, was it more the end goal related to your health and longevity, or was it more so related to your dropping weight?
More or less my long-term goal. Not really dropping weight because I think right now I'm fine with my weight. I'm just not fine with like in the past I have been more toned and I've been more consistent with exercise where after like injuries happened, I sort of like got frustrated because it's like, oh, I'm not where I used to be. And
Mm,
because I had that competitive mindset, it's like, well, I'll never be back to that level. So I just need to work where I'm at and be more conscious of how my body feels when I exercise and be perfect my form more so I don't get those injuries.
that's awesome. That's a huge shift because I do think that it's really challenging, especially if you were super fit at one point or an athlete in your earlier days, and all of a sudden you something happens and you can't fit your training in and you're aging and you really don't understand how to fix your diet so that it supports your body composition and just your overall health in general. And we do kind of feel like, okay, well, I'm in my 50s or whatever I'm in. Why can't I perform like I was when I was in my 20s, 30s, even early 40s? So, kudos to you, Sharon, for kind of having that realization because I know it's challenging, but we do have to admit to ourselves that, we aren't how we used to be necessarily, but we can still do plenty of things. And the things that we used to do, just maybe not with that same intensity. And also knowing that we've got to listen to our bodies. And if there's pain someplace, there's a lot of reasons pain can happen, but we really need to take the time, effort, and energy to listen to what our bodies are telling us at this point in the game in order to be able to continue on. So I feel your pain on that as I struggle with a shoulder injury going on month 5. Um,
Oish.
so not fun, but thank you for sharing. Anybody else want to share how their week went? Peaks or pits? Peaks or pits?
I will, Michelle.
Go ahead, Robin.
Well, I'll start off with my wins. I installed my Fitness Pal back on my phone, and I've been diligently putting in my food so that I actually joined the 1 month free trial so I would get all the bells and whistles. And you would ask me about the food down into protein, carbs, and fat, which I hadn't been doing last week. So it does it for you. And the MyFitnessPal has a barcode scanner. So even something I got at Trader Joe's, I just scan the barcode and boom, it's in my food tracker. So that's been a win, and that's going to
Awesome.
help me stay on track. So I love that. The other
And
night you motivated me. The other night I was look we've had crazy weather here in Florida, and that's no excuse, but it was kind of an excuse. And so I wasn't doing so good that day. And then you texted me and started asking me some questions. And I thought, oh my God, I have a gym in my neighborhood. So I grabbed my key and I went out the front door with the phone texting you. And I went on the treadmill. I don't even think we're allowed in the building that late, but I did the treadmill.
Awesome.
So I felt good about that. So those were all my wins. My challenges were I have bad knees. My right knee, I have a torn ACL and medial meniscus. So I can't do burpees, I can't do squats, but I told you I do teach water aerobics, which I'm teaching tomorrow morning, if it doesn't rain. And so I can do anything in the pool. I'm like fearless in the pool. So I'm looking forward to that. But what I did do, and I had gotten away from, was I did wall push-ups. So
Awesome.
I just use my arms to do those kind of push-ups because I'm struggling whenever I put any kind of weight on my knees.
Mm. What if you put like a foam mat under your knees and like double it over? Does that
I
help
can
or
do
is
it
it just the pressure?
I can do it just for a little while because then I stand
Okay.
up and they hurt. So I'm trying to find alternate ways to do things that don't put pressure on my knees.
Um, so instead of doing push-ups, the push-up challenge is over. It won't be again this weekend, but you can do
Okay.
chest presses.
Yeah.
Um, and if you're doing any of the little workouts or any of the ones that I sent on that Google spreadsheet, just sub in a chest
Right.
press with dumbbells
Yes.
instead of push-ups. So same movement.
Okay.
You're not going to get the core aspect that you would through a push-up, but I can't do push-ups right now either. The other thing you could do is a scapular push-up where you're just allowing your chest to come through and you're keeping your elbows locked out. That's about
Right.
all the push-ups that I can do right now with the shoulder situation that I have going on too. But kudos to you for um, getting out there and having those couple of wins. And boy, that text must
Yeah.
have been like subliminal.
It really, that's what I needed. I need somebody to push me. So that helped.
Good.
And I thank you.
Awesome. Did anybody have struggles more so on the weekend when there was less structure? And if you did, would you mind sharing what that kind of looked like? Everybody was good on the weekend. You were doing your thing. I shouldn't have even said that. Good on the weekend. You were on plan on the weekend. No one had the roadblocks there. Handled all the parties and such well, going out to dinner, handled it all right. All right. All right. So I'll ask again. We talked about this last week. Are you here for the outcome or are you here for the free stuff? My hope is that you're really here for the outcome because the one thing that I really want everybody to hear and understand is that improving your health doesn't have to look like perfection 24/7 because I got to tell you, I'm not perfect 24/7. Nobody's going to be perfect 24/7. There's going to be bouts where you're motivated and you're going to make stuff like on the left happen. And then there's going to be times where your motivation is driven by the free stuff that's coming your way. What I hope is that there will be a shift from everybody really to start to build those foundational habits so that you can feel good about yourself, get your confidence back, do the things that you did when you were in your 30s and 40s, maybe not with the same intensity, but having that confidence to be able to go out and do things in life that you enjoy doing without the fear of getting hurt. All right, so week 2 focus, building foundational health habits. So to learn and not to do is really not to learn. So I'm hoping again that everybody here a lot of you, this might be new. Some of this might be repeat for you, but if you know it and you're not doing it, you really haven't learned it. So think about that, right? And then to know and not to do is really not knowing. So foundational, and I really focus on women over the age of 40 when I talk about these things. Um, but they apply to everybody. I just kind of spun it towards our demographic to be a little bit more helpful for you and to help you understand the why behind the importance of these habits. So we're losing 3 to 5% muscle mass annually if we're not doing anything about it after the age of 30. So we kind of peak at 30 and things start to go downhill after that. That that's been a long time for me. So when you think about that, it's like, holy crap, 30 and I'm on the decline. I mean, most of us were having kids during that time, so it was a lost decade anyway. Um, but the fact is that we peak at 30 and things start to change thereafter. But strength training is going to help strengthen your muscles and your bones. And it can be a catch-22 because just as Robin was saying, she's got issues with her knees. But doing strength training can actually protect that joint because you're building up all the muscles around that knee joint. And it may prevent injuries such as ACL tears and MCL tears. So think about the health of your joints, the health of your bones. And even as we're aging, we tend to lose power because we're losing that muscle mass and because we become much more sedentary. So we have a higher risk of falling as we're getting older. So keeping those types of things in mind as your reason, your why for strength training. And we really want to do a minimum of 2, but I like 3 full body sessions per week. And you want to focus on full body training. I've never really been a huge fan of using machines to train on because I feel like we sit so much already. I like to, when I do my programming, incorporate, stuff where you're standing on your feet or you're on the floor, not necessarily sitting in a machine and working on one body part at a time. But that is a type of strength training and it's really fine. You just have to be smart about your programming. And I also like to be able to train balance and train stability, and you can do that much better off a machine than on a machine. Mind your heart. So we want to make sure that we're getting cardiovascular training in. It's not just always about our muscles, but we've got to keep the heart nice and strong as well. It's going to help with our metabolism. The goal is really 150 minutes per week. And that could be walking, cycling, swimming, any kind of cardiovascular activity that you enjoy. You guys, if you have any questions while I'm going through this, just interrupt me. Okay, raise your hand or take yourself off mute. That's totally fine if you have questions. Prioritizing rest and recovery, and I touched on this a little bit. It's really important at this stage in the game to listen to our bodies when it needs rest. We for sure have to repair and recharge after we work out. And a lot of that repair and recharge occurs during the time that we're sleeping. Hopefully, we're getting great sleep and we're getting to the point where that human growth hormone is being generated during our sleep. If you are that person that wakes up a lot during the night, you may have trouble with recovery. And basically, especially when you're strength training, but really when you're doing any kind of intense activity, what's happening is you're getting these little micro tears in your muscle. And the recovery time and the sleep time is where those repairs to the muscle are happening and where the muscle growth occurs. So our human growth hormones are at their their highest while we're sleeping. And the goal really is to get 7 to 9 hours of sleep. And if I were to prioritize anything when I start working with a client, my first question is usually, how is your sleep? Because if you are not getting great amounts of sleep, that's where your cortisol and your melatonin and your serotonin, all those hormones are generating during that time. The human growth hormone, so much is occurring during your sleep that if it's really interrupted, that's the first thing that you're going to want to fix because it's really the foundation of everything. So if you are struggling in that area, let me know, and I for sure can give you some supplements to try, some strategies to try, and we can work on improving that because that affects your metabolism, it affects your stress, it affects your muscle growth, it affects everything. So
I have a
just
question.
keep that in mind. Sure.
This might be a dumb question, but
Nope.
I'm
No
I'm a
question is
night
dumb.
owl. I'm a night owl. I like to watch Stephen Colbert. I don't go to bed till probably 12:30 or 1. Does it matter when I get my 7 hours of sleep? Because if I sleep till 9, am I good? Or am I just you shouldn't go to bed so late? Does it matter?
I don't, it doesn't matter as long as you're getting that sleep and it's uninterrupted and it
Okay.
fits in your schedule, doesn't
Okay.
matter.
All right.
Hydration. Hydration helps with your digestion, your energy, your skin health, your metabolism. It helps eliminate toxins from your body. The recommendation is half your body weight in ounces daily. And then if you're an exerciser, you want to add 15 ounces per hour of exercise. Now, if it's really hot, then you might need a little bit more. And one of the tips that are great to start implementing is to drink a glass before you eat. That'll help with satiety. It'll help kind of speed up the digestion process, but it'll slow that need for hangriness, right? So can do that. I also like to have my glass of water filled in my bathroom so that when I wake up, I go on the um, do do my morning pee and jump on the scale. Then I'm taking my glass of water in. If it's a workout day, I'm usually adding BCAAs to the water and slamming that. And then I'll bring another glass of water up with me when I'm working out. So just a good habit to get into because after you've been asleep all night and you're not drinking anything, we can tend to wake up dehydrated. Also, if you are dehydrated, you could be at risk for headaches and just not like brain fog, just not feeling great. You can try eating hydrating foods such as cucumber, watermelon, and leafy greens. And just a pro tip, make sure you have a water bottle with you wherever you go. A lot of people do that. Probably see that more so than anything. And I know my kids started doing that when they were in college. So just a good habit to have a refillable water bottle with you wherever you're going so that you can fill it up wherever you are. Also, some other tips that I like to improve your hydration, either set little alarms on your phone to get 8 or 16 ounces or whatever it is. They actually have water bottles that have time on it as well. Or if you know your goal is just, for example, 80 ounces a day, put 4 rubber bands around your water bottle. And if you have a 20-ounce water bottle, you know that you have to fill that 4 times. As you utilize and as you drink or empty, each bottle, take a rubber band off. So you start with 4 and you just keep taking them off. So that might be a way for you to keep track, or like I said, put little alarms on your phone. Managing stress. We know that chronic stress can lead to weight gain, specifically visceral fat, which is the fat that surrounds your organs. Stress can increase cortisol levels, which cortisol is not considered a bad hormone, but if you're under chronic stress, increased cortisol over and above that doesn't decrease as we go on throughout our day is not a good thing. It's going to prevent you from sleeping. It can affect your heart health. So we don't want our cortisol to constantly be up here. There's an inverse relationship between cortisol, melatonin, and serotonin. So melatonin and serotonin increase as the day goes on, and our cortisol is supposed to decrease. And that's really what helps us get to sleep, right? So if you are that person that's under chronic stress, you definitely want to incorporate stress reducing techniques such as breathing, Tai Chi, yoga, meditation, light stretching. If you're in a stressful situation, if you practice box breathing, which is inhaling to the count of four, hold to the count of four, exhale to the count of four, hold to the count of four, that is physically shown to slow your heart rate down, decreases your blood pressure. So if you find that you're in that type of situation, or you're just that person that's always like wound tight, try to focus on maybe 2 minutes, set a timer, and try to focus on slow, intentional breathing to calm your stress down, calm your nerves down, and see if that works. Might be a great way to start your day and end your day with that type of breathing. You can also Google EFT, which is tapping. You can just sit here and tap on your chest if you're under stress. In the Facebook group, if you Google tapping, if you search tapping, my friend and neighbor Natasha did a probably like a 30-minute training on EFT. And she also, I think, talked about other stress management techniques. So you can go in the Facebook group and search on that and learn how to do it. It's pretty cool. Setting realistic goals and tracking progress. So, Robin, I was happy when you brought that up. It's just very strange to me. And truth be told, it was odd to me when I started working with my coach and he had me tracking my food. And I would literally walk by the island in the kitchen, and if there was a piece of fruit or tomatoes, strawberries, raspberries, anything sitting on a counter, I would just grab it mindlessly, just pop it in my mouth. And I wouldn't even think about it, right? And then I'm like, oh, and I'd literally spit it out. Like I didn't weigh that. I didn't measure that. I didn't track that. So it's crazy that we track our bank account, we track our 401k. We track a lot of things, but we never track our calories. And it's so foundational to our health in so many ways that it's kind of silly that we avoid, or it's strange, or we don't want to do it, because it's really giving us every ounce of fuel. So don't you want to optimize the fuel that you're giving yourself? So tracking your food can be a true eye opener. And it's really important to know what your macronutrients are, especially as you're getting older. So, love that you said that. And hopefully, you're starting to see, I eat a lot of carbohydrates, or, I'm not really getting that much protein. And seeing where you're budgeting your calories, so to speak. And just FYI, if you are using MyFitnessPal, you don't have to buy the premium version, but unless you didn't update your app, like I didn't do, I can still get the scanner on mine. But they started, it's probably about a year and a half ago. In order to have that scanner, you have to pay for premium. But you don't need premium to get the basics, just so everybody knows. And anybody that's on my app right now, you also have the ability to use the in-app tracker, which might even be a little bit easier for you if you've never used MyFitnessPal. So, all right. So we want to make sure we're setting realistic goals, goals that are attainable. So if you had like 100-pound weight loss goal. Having that top of mind is very daunting, right? So maybe you say, okay, I'm going to start out and my goal is to lose a pound a week. So for the month of October, I want to be down 4 pounds before November rolls around. And you start taking those big, massive goals and breaking them down into smaller, more attainable and perceivable steps, right? Versus having that major daunting goal hanging over your head. Um, the other thing is when it comes to health, it's not always about the scale. And there are definitely going to be times where you're going to have a stall. Focus on smaller wins. How do you feel? How are your clothes fitting you? What's your energy level like? What's your mood like? How are you sleeping? Do you feel less stressed? You'll start to notice the more nutrient dense foods you put into your body, all of those non-scale victories are going to start to build upon and one after the other when you stay focused on those small consistent efforts of choosing the the foods and the habits that are setting your health up for success. And those things are what are going to lead to lasting results. We can do anything for 21 days. We can do anything for a week, but can you 90% of the time continue with those habits? And that's really what we're after. So I'm focusing a lot more on nutrition habits because that is where you're going to get the most bang for your buck when it comes to your body composition. I may have talked about this last week and I should have stuck this in on this slide, but if you remember back to your math days where you had the pie chart, which is 100%, right? We know 50% of our body composition is calories in versus calories out. When you drill down a little bit further, we know that 30% of our body composition is due to our macronutrients, how much protein, how much carbohydrates, how much fat we're having for our activity level, for our age, our height, our weight, and our sex, right? And our age. Then we drill down a little bit. 10% is your micronutrients, your fiber, your vitamins, your minerals. 5% is meal timing and 5% is supplements. So you can see the biggest bang for your buck is total calories in versus out. But then you drill down and you're looking at your macronutrients, which is why when you combine the both and you put yourself in a calorie deficit, and then we figure out, oh, okay, Jolie has to have this much protein and this much fat and this many carbohydrates because she plays pickleball 3 days a week and she's starting to strength train. So she's going to need a little bit more carbohydrates and protein than, somebody that is a little less sedentary or a little less active. So that's why I wanted to focus a little bit more on nutrition for our habits. So we want to focus on lean protein. Any diet that you have ever tried is going to focus on higher protein levels. Reason for that is it takes longer to digest. You're going to be satisfied longer. It can definitely increase your metabolism. If you're strength training, in addition to focusing on that protein, you're going to be able to build more muscle and maintain that muscle. We want to think about having personally 30 to 40 grams at each meal. So it really depends on where you're starting. It's really rare, pretty much 100% of anybody that I have ever looked at their intake are under eating protein for their goals. So if fat loss is your goal, if putting on muscle is your goal, your protein needs are going to be higher. Even if you're older, your protein needs are going to be higher than somebody that's less sedentary, that doesn't need to lose weight and who is younger. It's super important post workout. I like to get 40 grams of protein after I work out, and that timing is 30 minutes. So write that down. Don't forget it. 40 grams of protein, minimum of 30, but I like 40 post workout. What are great proteins to look into? Chicken, turkey, fish, plant-based options, lentils, beans, quinoa, tofu, egg and low-fat dairy products like Greek yogurt and cottage cheese. When I make my eggs, and I can't remember whose food log I looked at today that was new to being on the app. I saw that they had 2 eggs, and I'm like, have 1 egg and add 2 servings of egg whites. Egg whites have hardly any calories, but they have a crap ton of protein in them. Regular eggs have a lot of calories, not a lot of calories, but more calories, less protein than egg whites. So to get the fluffiness, eat 1 egg and then do 2 to 3 servings of egg whites. And I just buy the carton of the range-free egg whites. It's just easier that way. And then if you're active, you definitely need more, and you for sure want to slowly increase. So people always tell me or ask me, how much protein should I eat? And I say, well, your goal would to be eat your goal weight in protein, pound per gram per pound. But if you're eating 70 grams of protein on average and your goal weight is 145, if you went from there to 145, your digestion would have a total freak out, meltdown, and you would be calling me on the phone saying, what the hell? I haven't pooped in a week, and it's not pleasant. So you've got to gradually increase your protein intake. Any questions on protein? All right. Fiber. Fiber helps regulate digestion, supports healthy gut, also helps you with hunger cues, helps stabilize your blood sugar. Protein also does that, both of which also will help with your cravings. As a peri and menopausal, postmenopausal female, you want to try to aim for even 25, I would even say up to 25 to 35 grams of fiber today. So where do you get your fiber from? Vegetables, fruits, different types of whole grains, and legumes. And this is another one that you want to slowly increase to avoid those digestion issues. Questions on fiber? Other sources of fiber, psyllium husk, and I'm actually using up a fiber supplement that I had gotten that is just powdered. I put it in my protein shake. Fiber can also help with cholesterol. So if you have issues with cholesterol, increase your fiber. No questions on that? All right, how about healthy fats? I don't know if you guys remember, but there was definitely a time where there was a fat phobia, and that's when the fake fat was introduced, and we had the snack wells and all of those things come out. Well, any kind of processed food is probably not the best thing for you. Fake fat is no better than real fat. It's still fat, but you're not getting the benefit from it if it's not a healthy fat, such as the ones that are listed here. Fat also helps us stay satiated. The longest digesting macronutrient is protein. I think it's like 4 times the amount of carbohydrates, and fat is 2 times the amount of carbohydrates, maybe even 2.5. I'd have to double check those stats, but carbs tend to run through us quickly. Protein the longest, fat the second longest. So Fat also helps to balance our hormones, which is really important at this stage in the game, and also supports brain and heart health. The kind of fats do matter. You do want to try to steer towards avocados, a little bit of nuts and seeds, just watch because a little goes a long way. And then your fatty fishes that are listed here, and the oils, olive oil, coconut oil, avocado oil. And again, just being careful with the nut butters, right? We can go a little crazy with that. And when you are looking at nut butters, just read your ingredients because they put palm oils in there. There's added sugars in peanut butter, almond butter, all those things. So just look for something that's natural, flip it over, look at the ingredients, and see that it's just nuts. And then we want to avoid trans fats and limited saturated fats from processed foods. We know that those types of things can increase inflammation, negatively impact hormone balance, and can for sure pack the weight on. I don't know if you remember this from last week, but for every gram of protein and carbohydrates, that equates to 4 calories. For every gram of fat, it equates to 9 calories. So I remember when I was weighing my food the first time, I always kept mixed nuts from Costco in the big jar around. My son used to like eating them. And I'm like, all right, I'm just going to have some nuts as a little snack. Well, it was like this much. And 300 calories, hardly any protein, and a ton of fat. So just again, be informed, be aware of what you're putting in your body. Any questions on fat? Am I keeping you guys awake on the East Coast? Hopefully. All right. So what about carbs? We absolutely 100% need carbohydrates for energy, and also we just want to be careful about how we're eating them, how much we're eating, and what kind they are, because they affect our blood sugar and they can make us have a major energy rush and then a major energy crash. So, as we're getting older, our hormones are changing. Some of us can be more insulin resistant. So, what that means, just very simply, is that we might not process carbohydrates the way we used to. We want to focus on, and this is important if you know somebody that has diabetes, but it's also just important in general to know there are glycemic index associated with carbohydrates. A high glycemic foods that have high glycemic indexes are going to be things like rice. They're very fast acting. So anything that's processed, very fast acting sources of energy. Slower digesting carbs are going to be things that are more like oatmeal, sweet potatoes. So when you're thinking about, like for me, I'm a cyclist. After an hour and a half of riding my bike, like I need something fast because all my energy that is stored in my muscles is gone. So I need to think about, okay, what carbohydrates can I have that is going to give me fast energy? You can put stuff in your drinks, but you can also create foods to take with you. I had this idea in my head when I first moved out here and I was doing like much longer rides than I used to back in Pennsylvania, that protein bars would be great, right? So I was using my Built bars, which are wonderful if you're on a lower carb, higher protein kind of plan. But when you're out there riding your bike, you will literally hit a wall and you will just want to get the heck off that bike. And you can actually create a situation for your muscles, which is not, it's not good. So know when to have the higher GI carbohydrates and when to have the lower GI carbohydrates when it comes to exercise. We want to make sure that we're limiting carbs and sugars from food like white breads, pastries, sugary snacks, even pastas. But White potatoes are okay. A little bit of rice are okay. All of those things are okay. You just want to make sure that you're limiting them and that they're really fitting into your plan. So I wrote down here PFF as your pro tip because this has stuck with me for probably 6 or 7 years now. I was in an educational seminar, and the guy was talking about nutrition. His was specific to golf, and he just threw out this acronym, PFF. So when you are eating carbohydrates, and I'm going to give you an example, and hopefully you can employ this going forward. Protein, fiber, and fat is what PFF stands for. So say it's Friday night and it's pizza night and you're getting pizza for the whole family and you'd like to have a slice. Have a salad with maybe a little bit of chicken, some olive oil, some tomatoes, whatever you like on your salad before you have your pizza. Because what that'll do is help stabilize your blood sugar, and you will be able to process and digest the carbohydrates a little bit better than if you hadn't had that salad beforehand. Has to be before. And just if you have they have blood glucose monitors now that even, I mean, anybody could wear them. But I was in my hormones course and we were talking about the situation where a guy did a test and he did just that. He had pizza by itself and then he measured his blood sugar and then he had a salad and then had the pizza and measured his blood sugar. And there was a much less um, insulin effect or a blood sugar effect when he had the salad first. So just remember that. Try not to have, even like if you're going to have an apple as a snack, try to have some almond butter, some peanut butter with that apple. Um, so, unless you are riding a bike and you just want that banana for that instant energy, try to think about eating your carbohydrates with PFF, protein, fiber, and fat. Any questions on carbohydrates? Because they are really not evil. We just have to watch our intake as we're getting older. And really, your intake for your carbohydrates, and I think I mentioned this, it's like going from Philadelphia to King of Prussia versus going from Philadelphia to LA. You need a hell of a lot more carbohydrates going that far distance than just this far. So keep that in mind when you are having your meals and planning and looking at your macronutrients. Questions on carbs? All right. So, how do we avoid blood sugar spikes? We want to try to eat balanced meals. So, when you're planning your meals, make sure you have a combination of protein, healthy fat, and fiber, because those things can, again, help regulate your blood sugar, reduce cravings, prevent those energy dips throughout the day. So, protein, healthy fat, fiber, complex carbs. So, example for a lunch would be grilled chicken over a bed of spinach and quinoa with olive oil dressing. You want to avoid eating carbs on their own, especially refined or sugary carbs, which can lead to those energy crashes. So try eating a minimum of 3 meals a day. I know everybody talks about intermittent fasting. It's really not the best thing, especially as we're getting older. We need to stabilize the blood sugar. A lot of times, what happens, and I know I had a conversation with somebody in this challenge about this very thing. She doesn't eat breakfast. And then by like 1 o'clock, she starts eating. And then by 5 o'clock, she's really making up for that, missing that early morning meal. So have a decent breakfast. If you don't like to eat food because you don't have time or you're just like, I just want my coffee, make yourself a protein shake. Try to get at least 30 grams of protein. So if that means you're doing a scoop and a half, do a scoop and a half. Use the Fairlife milk or Ripple unsweetened milk. That'll boost your protein up. And then have your lunch at around that 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock time frame. Any questions on that? We're getting there. All right. We want to limit alcohol and processed sugars. So, alcohol and processed sugars are basically empty calories. They can lead to weight gain, they can disrupt our sleep, and they for sure can mess with our metabolism. They 100% are known to cause inflammation. You'll find that if you're eating those things, you might be more bloated, and they can for sure cause hormonal imbalances, which is just not the best thing for us at this stage in the game. So if you're going to drink 1 to 2 servings a week, um, there's new studies that are coming out. They used to say, 1 drink a night is fine for women. And now the studies are saying, no, that's not the case. Alcohol is really not healthy for women on a regular basis. So, what can you do? There's a lot of alcohol substitutes out there. You can make drinks without alcohol in them, although those tend to be sugary. So, you don't necessarily want to veer towards them too often. Um, they have non alcoholic beers. Again, still probably a lot of calories in those. So, still empty calories. There is a brand called Recess that offers 4 different kinds of non-alcoholic options, and they actually taste pretty good. The margarita one is my favorite, very refreshing. I think they're 20 calories, or just do carbonated water. When I would go out with friends and if they were drinking and I just wanted to feel like I was part of the cloud or part of the crowd, um, they make water in a can. The name is what is it called? Liquid Death. Um, how do you spell that? Recess? Recess. Um, and I ordered them on Amazon. I don't know if you can get them in the liquor stores or not, or the grocery stores. I haven't necessarily looked for them, but I've ordered them on Amazon and they're pretty good. Um, Out at the bars, Liquid Death. I mean, it's $8 for a can of water, but you still feel like you're partaking with somebody, right? Um, and or just do club soda with a lime and maybe a splash of cranberry. So there's definitely ways to get over the socialization alcohol thing. It's really a mental thing. And I think if you have a conversation with yourself before you go out and you're just like, you know what, I can do this. I don't need it. And trust me, the next day when you get up, you're going to be like, thank God I didn't drink last night. Try to satisfy your sweet tooth with natural sugars from fruit instead of things found in candies, cakes, and pastries. Somebody was telling me they had a chocolate craving. Like, go get yourself the darkest chocolate that you can stand and just start going darker and darker. So what I mean by that is the cacao level, right? I think dark chocolate might start at 55 and then you just go up 65, 72, keep going. I know Lindt has 100%. It's fine. You can also get yourself some cacao powder and make a cacao drink, which is actually pretty good. It's just a healthier form of hot chocolate. Read your labels. There are lots of hidden sugars in things like flavored yogurt, salad dressings, and different sauces. So just make sure you're looking for the sugary things. Anything that ends in an ose is typically sugar, and there's a whole list of other sugars. If anybody's interested, I can send it to you just so that you're aware. Questions on alcohol and processed sugars? Real quick, I was talking about grams and how they relate to calories when it comes to macronutrients. So, fun fact about alcohol. Alcohol is not a macronutrient, obviously, but for every 1 gram of alcohol, it equates to 7 calories. So since there's no macronutrients, the alcohol companies are allowed to put them on the label as a carbohydrate because it's essentially sugar. But when you're counting your calories and your carbs, you're really underestimating the amount of carbohydrates. Maybe not the calories, but you're definitely underestimating the amount of calorie or carbohydrates that you're getting. So there's an entry I like to use in my Fitness Pal. I'm going to type it in the chat. So it's Trevor Kashi Nutrition Alcohol. And what you do, this is what I do. If I'm having, um, uh, let's say, bourbon, I'll put in the bourbon and the amount that I'm having, and it'll give me a calorie total. And then I'll go back into this entry, and the serving will be 1 gram. And then I just take, if it's 100 calories, I'll put the 100 in as the serving size, and it will calculate the carbohydrates for you. So think about that, right? It's almost double that they're undercutting as far as the number of carbohydrates you're having. Does that make sense? Any questions on that? All right, so another lean habit, mindful eating for better digestion and portion control. The slower you eat, the sooner you're going to start to fill up, right? You're going to feel satisfied, and you never want to eat to the fullest point, right? Just eat to the point where you're feeling like you're satisfied. Definitely easier to control your portions and avoid overeating that way. It actually improves your digestion because you're going to be chewing longer, more. You're slowing down your eating pace, and your body's going to be able to process the food a little bit better. You want to make sure you're eating while you're sitting, which is really tough when you're a mom of young children, right? Remove any distractions, your phone, your TV, your computer. Chew slowly, savor each bite. Give your body that time to signal when it's full. And again, stop eating when you're satisfied, not when you're stuffed. One of the things that when people tend to be fast eaters or emotional eaters or mindless eaters, keep a food journal to track how you're feeling after you eat certain meals. It can also help you identify any kind of food sensitivities or habits that might need change. Questions on mindful eating? All right. Hopefully this is helpful to you guys. So when do we supplement? Honestly, everybody should be on, I always say the basic 5 or 6: vitamin D, calcium, magnesium, fish oil, probiotic, a multivitamin, and vitamin B. Those are the basics. As we're getting older, our nutrients may change. They may be on a decline because our bodies can't absorb them the way they used to. That might be a reason for supplementing. In the colder climates where winter is a real thing and the sun doesn't come out, or you're not spending as much time, you definitely want to increase your vitamin D during those times. I think that we all learned during COVID how important zinc, vitamin D, and vitamin C were to our immune system. So if you're traveling, you're on an airplane, try to incorporate those. Robin, I'll get to that in a second. Try to incorporate those supplements when you're traveling. And then adaptogens are things like ashwagandha, holy basil, um, Shisandra. There's a bunch of them. If anybody's interested in seeing the adaptogen guide that I created, so it'll tell you what the adaptogens are for, how much you should take. They can be especially helpful for perimenopause and menopause when it comes to sleep, stress management, and some other things. So adaptogens are something that you can incorporate. Any thoughts on consuming the apple cider vinegar with cayenne pepper? I know people are definitely on the apple cider vinegar kick. I don't think there's anything wrong with it. It's not going to hurt you. It's basically an acidity neutralizer, right? Um, so, I mean, I don't know specifically. I think cayenne pepper is supposed to be good for your metabolism. So, if you want to try it, by all means, it's certainly not going to hurt you. I forget who I was talking to about this, but somebody was saying they used apple cider vinegar as a toner on their skin, on their face at night. Try it. No harm in that. And as always, just make sure you're speaking if you're, especially if you're on medication. Sometimes medications can be in a contraindication to supplementation. So you just want to make sure that you run by your doctor if there's any contraindication. And by the way, doctors are not all about supplements, but they're also not nutritionists. So when you think about supplements, if you're a highly active person, most likely you're going to need to supplement. As you're getting older, most likely you're going to need to supplement because there's no way we can get all the vitamins we need from the foods that we're eating unless you are like super, super duper healthy and you're really analyzing how to get all of these things. So just keep that in mind and, just supplementation is a necessity. And some of the other supplements that I like, and I touched on them just a little bit early for working out, is hydration. So making sure you're utilizing something if you're outside exercising, or just exercising in general, to get the electrolytes, not something like Gatorade or what's the other one? I know they make no sugar options now, but that wouldn't be my go-to. I'll use Noon. I've found Prime recently, Drip Drop. Just again, know what is in them. Maltodextrin is something that can be upsetting to your stomach. So just keep your eye out for that in the ingredient list. Branched chain amino acids. I love the Thorne product line because it's a pharmaceutical grade supplement. Branched chain amino acids help you before, during, and after your workout. If you struggle getting protein, essential amino acids are something that you might want to add to your repertoire of supplements. And then this past year, I started taking creatine because I've just been hearing so many benefits as far as heart health and brain health and building muscle. So that's another supplement that's not on here that I take myself. And I do take protein powder too. Questions on supplements? Robin, or did somebody drop a comment in there? I think so. Any, what type of magnesium do you recommend? So that depends. If depends on what you're having trouble with. If it is sleep, it is magnesium biglycinate. If you're having trouble going, it's magnesium citramate. But there's probably like 6 or 7 different types of magnesium. As a general supplement, I would say magnesium biglycinate. It's a powder form. So, but if you have another specific question on which one, let me know. Just shoot me a message, and I can get back to you on that. But magnesium is something that used to be found in our soil. And from everything that I've been reading, our soil has been so overfarmed that there's really not a whole lot of magnesium. And that's why they're finding that we are deficient. Also, if you have a high amount of stress, magnesium can be, I don't want to call it attacked. You might need more if you have chronic stress. So to increase the likelihood of maintaining your body composition and just your overall good health in general, you want to focus on the nutritional habits that I mentioned and then the habits above as well, just for your overall vitality and well-being. All right, goals for this week. Who was solid on their 3 out of 5 habits that you guys selected last week? Just type in me in the chat. And I would say if you nailed it, at least 5 out of 7 days, that's pretty solid. The 3 of you, that's it. So the 3 that said yes, if you want to add something else this week and you don't feel like you're under a tremendous amount of pressure to do so, I would suggest either increasing your protein or increasing your veggies or just add one of the other habits that were on that list of 5 that were in your welcome packet. And don't feel pressured to do that because I'd rather you, if you didn't nail it this week, continue to work on getting it this upcoming week so that we can keep building and getting the reps in of those 3 out of 5. But for those of you that want to take it up a level, feel free to do that. So goals for this week. Mini challenge starts tomorrow. You have till Sunday to complete it. I believe it was a fall vegetable recipe. Jen, you cracked me up. Jen had a whole table full of vegetables that she must have picked from her garden, which is amazing because they all looked so amazing. I wish I could do that. Tomorrow night call is at 6:30. I forget what the topic is. I have to finish my little tune in Tuesday, but I have some good stuff coming up this month on Tuesdays. So hopefully you'll get in the habit of being on. I have a mindset coach coming on, which I'm super excited to listen to. I just forget which day that is. So look for that tomorrow. That'll be posted up on the cover sheet. And then Friday, morning, I will release the mini movement challenge. So you'll have a chance to win a gift card for this weekend too. So what I'm looking for, you have the opportunity Friday, Saturday, and Sunday to complete the challenge. It's the same challenge. And then if you post a video of yourself or a picture of yourself doing it, you'll get extra credit. If you do it all 3 days, awesome. Remember, the goal of the mini challenge is not for me to torture you. It's for me to kind of keep you on track and focused on the weekend, which is where we can kind of sometimes fall apart. Any questions on the goals for this week? All right, we're all clear. Everybody's seeing the Facebook posts, and you're all doing great about posting underneath. So that's awesome. Keep that up. All right, so once again, I'm just going to remind you that you can either do what you've been doing and hope for the best, or you can take that action day in and day out and make that real commitment to yourself. And think about, and if you haven't read James Clear's book called Atomic Habits, highly recommend it because he's got some decent strategies on how to make things happen. So you guys, I would imagine after this week, there probably aren't going to be as many of us on this call. So I will probably be hounding you a little bit more this week, trying to keep you on track and having you commit to what you said you were going to do a week ago. So just be anticipating some texts from me or some shout outs on Facebook if I'm not seeing you show up and do the things that you signed up to do. So just to recap from last week, in 21 days, we're going to expect to see some progress. I definitely want you guys to be educated. I am so passionate about putting a lot of time and effort into getting you guys to understand all things about health and your body. But understand that this is definitely a commitment for your lifetime, not just 21 days. So just curious if anybody's commitment level changed from last week, or did it diminish? There's more of you on the call tonight. That's a good sign. All right. And then just how to win. Make sure you're participating. Complete the mini challenges. Make sure you post your tracker. I saw some of you did that. So awesome. I'll let you do it today if you didn't get a chance to do it. I am keeping track of points. I'm going to throw a leaderboard up there, like I said, either tomorrow or Wednesday. Showing up for calls, share your tracker, and ask questions, right? I think I said last week, 30 years in the industry. So, and if I don't know the answer, I'll find the answer for you, or at least attempt. Oh, she's playing pickleball. Have fun, Jolie. Be careful. Make sure you warm up and cool down. And I'll see you Wednesday morning. Any questions, gang? Was this helpful tonight on the lean habits? Was there anything surprising? Any shocking? No? You knew it all. All right, awesome. Well, I did record this. I am going to will I no, I'm not going to repost this in the group. Whoever wasn't on the call, I will send it out to you personally. Um, good. I'm glad, Kathy. And I will hopefully see many of you tomorrow. Don't forget that the weekly first challenge starts tomorrow. So get cooking. I loved all those recipes too. I secretly do them on purpose so you guys try them first.